the best top expert tips and hacks to make your life better. LifeHakx. Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. This is Mary Collins from LifeHakx Media, and I have the absolute pleasure to have Vivian Wu online with us today. Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Mary.
It's an absolute pleasure. So before we get started, Vivian, I want to tell everyone a little bit about you. Vivian is a digital marketer turned hypnotherapist and self-worth mentor who is passionate about guiding soulful, conscious leaders and entrepreneurs to shatter the glass ceiling, break generational cycles, and step into their own power unapologetically through deep subconscious healing. Well, I mean, that sounds fabulous, especially we've just, every holiday season, we get stuck with those generational cycles, as it were. And now in the new year, I am hoping that you will be able to tell us and give us some life hacks and tips of how to break those cycles. So Vivian, let's start. How did you go from being a digital marketing expert to being a hypnotherapist and mentor?
Oh, it really started. So I started my digital marketing career pretty much right after university. And then I also started therapy when I was in my early 20s. And it was in my very second or third session with my therapist where she asked me, hey, are you interested in trying out hypnosis? And back then I was like, no. What are you talking about? Hypnosis was such a foreign thing to me. And I almost felt offended that she asked because I thought, do you not want to hear me talk about my problems anymore? I just want to keep talking about my problems because there is a part of us that is so familiar with the issues in our lives and we just keep going. And it actually triggers something that it feels like it's addicting. Like you keep going back to the story. And that's what I wanted to do in my session. And I think she saw through that. Mm-hmm. So she recommended hypnosis, but I said no. But we kind of hit a wall eventually. And I think either it's a third or fourth session, I'm like, yeah, I would like to try it. And just looking back, our hypnosis session was very, very simple. It was really just positive affirmation, but first getting me into that state of relaxation. Mm-hmm. And I got out of it feeling amazing. I felt great. It was the first time I felt great in months. Right. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And obviously with hypnosis, not obviously, but back then I didn't know, you would actually feel the effect of hypnosis even after the session. Mm-hmm. And when I really noticed what made that it made a huge difference in my life was when I stepped into the office the next morning. I felt different. I felt confident because back then I didn't feel like I had anything worthy of sharing. And I started speaking up in meetings. I started being more unapologetic. I was 100% a people pleaser, but I was able to start setting boundaries. I didn't know they were called boundaries back then, but I was starting to set boundaries and really knowing that I had value to bring to the table at my job. And I credit everything to that hypnosis session. And then ever since that first session, I would go to my therapy session asking her for more hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And then at one of my digital marketing jobs, we were told that company was actually really great. They had a kind of personal development program for all the employees to go through. Mm-hmm. And in that program, you have to write down your intentions, your 3-year intention, 5-year intention, 10-year intention. And I think I was about 25 then. And I wrote that in my 5-year intention that I wanted to become a counselor to help people. But I had no idea. I was still a digital marketer. I had no idea how that would ever happen. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward a few years later, I started doing research as to how can I become a counselor. I decided to invest in that course. And the interesting thing is that just 2 weeks, no, actually maybe 2 or 3 days before I went for my training, because I live in Vancouver, the training was in LA. At that job, I was told that I only have 3 months left because they don't no longer need my service, literally 3
Wow.
days before my training. And I went through, and luckily, because by then I had already done a lot of work, like my self-worth wasn't really tied to performance reviews. I was still angry and feeling like it wasn't the right call, but I'm like, whatever. I hear you, universe. You're kicking me to a different direction.
LifeHakx.com. That's with a K and an X.
And then so I went to that training and I came back and then I started my business.
There you go. And of course, we met on the Jacqueline Academy's, Hypnosis Academy's website. You were my cohort buddy. And that was, really wonderful. I'm so happy. But it's really interesting what you're saying about your impressions of what you thought hypnosis was, and how many people, there's even like really bad movies out there trying to make us into these, these voodoo queens, and it's all magic and it's used for the purpose of evil and all these different things on these really bad and sort of examples of hypnosis, or wannabe examples of hypnosis. And people also can't grasp the idea. Like you said, you wanted to talk about it. You thought if you keep talking about problems or trauma, this would make you better, which we now have discovered through, hypnosis. It can make things worse, right? Like they actually say now, even the trauma specialists, get it out and then don't talk about it. Get over it. Yeah. So lots of people go to, they think hypnosis, that's not going to work. Why would something that I've had my whole life be just gone like that in 1 or 2 sessions? They just can't believe it. They can't grasp that our brains are so powerful, that our subconscious is so powerful, and that's what is so wonderful about it. And just even the fact that people don't realize the science behind it. They think it's like heebie-jeebies magic. The science behind neuroplasticity, we have neurons, billions, all over our bodies.
Yeah.
And our subconscious does a lot of the work for us. Walking, breathing, talking, basic stuff. Critical thinking is not an actually big aspect of human behavior, which is very sad. We do a lot of it on automatic. So you learned that with all that trauma, you were able to get over those issues that you'd had in the past with just a little bit of hypnosis. And that's wonderful. And from there, the hypnosis community can actually be grateful for the way life threw you down that path, because now you're part of the community and you're helping and healing others through your skill set. And so
I love it.
Yeah. And you're so good at it. And speaking of skill set, you can also combine with your marketing expertise some hypnosis and help to other hypnotists, with marketing. So, because a lot of people learn and it may do them some good, just personally. But for those of us that want to get into the business world of it, do you have any top tips or hacks to help people with their business, marketing their hypnosis or any business?
I think this will bring a lot of relief to people and maybe some confusion, but I've had like 9 or 10 years of digital marketing experience by now. And what I will actually say is that all strategies work. So there are so many different strategies that people are pushing out there. If you're in the field, if you are a business owner, you probably see ads every single day about marketing strategy. Like, hey, I know the secrets to Instagram. I know the secrets to TikTok. And sometimes the secrets are really different. And what I'm here to say is there are so many different strategies out there. And what I believe is that they actually all work. And the thing that really moved my business is it's actually almost never the strategy. I'm not saying strategy doesn't work, or I think people put a lot of emphasis on strategy. And I often hear people saying, oh, I don't know marketing, so I can't start my business. It literally breaks my heart, because I just know so many gifted, wonderful hypnotherapists that are just incredible at what they do, but they get stuck or they feel very demoralized because they don't know marketing. And I'm always here to say marketing is not the end all be all. You don't need to know every strategy. Just experiment with different ones and find out what works for you. And just knowing that they all work. What really is going to move the needle for you, I really believe, is expanding your capacity and regulating your nervous system, knowing that it is safe for you to be seen, heard, and just be seen on social media, that your ideas are worthy of sharing. And the most important thing is to know that done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect, because a lot of us, especially if you are like a coach, you are a therapist, you are a hypnotherapist. I once heard one of my coaches said, actually, no one gets into like coaching business or become a therapist without really deep trauma themselves. And that really hit me really hard. So it's about like healing through that and knowing that it is safe. You are worthy of being heard and seen on social media or being heard on a podcast, and share those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like always focusing and honing in on marketing, because you don't need to know all the strategy. It's actually a lot of healing and mindset work. That's what I've come to really realize in the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a relief too, because strategy and like marketing and like looking at numbers, it's masculine energy. So we're finding the balance between masculine and feminine energy now. And I think that's what's going to really help move the needle in people's businesses, not just the marketing and strategy piece.
Right. Well, I'm going to quote you, because I remember you saying that what sells people are the people's personalities, right?
Yeah.
You said that. You said, look, you can sing and dance and do all sorts of wonderful things, but people will like you if you're genuine, if you come across genuinely when you're presenting or whatever it is you're doing. That's what people buy into. And so, and then you're about to go into the whole, the masculine, feminine human design, which is another subject matter that we are going to talk about. But so with that, I mean, for everyone who's listening and who's watching, Vivian's amazing. She's got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's probably more, but I'm just fascinated that you have the courage. And I'm really grateful that you're telling people that, because I've like sort of said to some clients, I know I'm on video with you now, and this was forced because of the pandemic, because my co-host was like, no, we have to be on video. But generally, I don't like to be in front of the camera. For many years, 20 plus years, I have been behind the camera as a director, as a writer, as a creator of content, but really not a camera-friendly person. And what you're saying is that, because a lot of people are saying you have to be on TikTok, you have to be on Instagram, you have to put videos out. And I think there is some truth to that. We do need to do something. People relate to what they see and what they hear. You're now saying, it's about confidence and just get it out there. And so I think everyone that's listening, as I said, and watching, that is a perfect hacks, just get out there and just say it. And the more you do it, the more natural it will become and the easier it will become as well. So with that, tell us a little bit more about Soul Vitamins.
Soul Vitamins. Honestly, when I first started, that name just stuck with me, and I didn't really know where I was going with the business or practice, whatever we want to call it. And if you scroll all the way back on my Instagram feed, I was just posting quotes, but quotes aren't really me. So, and then as I start posting, this is exactly why it's so important to get started. Just start posting. Mm-hmm. And now I know posting quotes are not really the right, quote unquote, right strategy for me, because I'm not really initiating anything. I'm not really speaking my truth. I'm sharing someone's truth, mm-hmm. but I want to use my platform to speak my truth. So for example, like I love hypnotherapy. I would love more and more people to become more familiar with the idea of hypnotherapy and that there's science behind it. It's not just magic. It's not magic. It's powerful because of how powerful our subconscious mind is and how our mind is in general. And I think I have 3 main pillars. So if we want to go back to the last question about marketing, mm-hmm. maybe like one of the recommendations I would make is to have main pillars for your practice. So you kind of know what you're here to share. You kind of know what you want to talk about. and then start talking about those things. Because when I started Soul Vitamins, I thought I want to talk about dating. How do you use how do you spot like narcissistic traits on dates and all that? But when I started actually talking about dating, I'm just like, oh, actually, I'm not really passionate about this. But there are so many people who are amazing at talking about narcissistic personality and how to heal and anxious and avoidant attachment styles. I thought that was my passion, but it actually isn't. So through not trial and error, but through experimenting, the first thing I always talk about in Soul Vitamins is self-worth, because ultimately when we get down to the bottom of almost every single emotional issue, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but almost all emotional issues, it's self-worth. When we tie our self-worth to work performance, that creates anxiety, that creates low confidence, and our how we feel about ourselves really change based on something external. And that's something that I worked on through so many years. And me being able, like, if you knew me maybe like 20 or 10 years ago, you wouldn't even think that I would be confident enough to be speaking about topics like this. But it's really through healing and elevating, cultivating that unconditional self-worth. So that will always be one of the pillars of Soul Vitamins. And the second thing, I'm always really interested in spirituality and philosophies, like non-duality, all those things. I like to read about these ideas and the science behind it. And another pillar for Soul Vitamins is, how do I make these spiritual ideas trauma-informed and more grounded? Because we're still human beings. We still have emotions. And a lot of spirituality, it makes people feel like, oh, we have to be the saint. We don't have any emotions. We just flow with life. And I think we can ultimately get to that, but it's through healing and regulating nervous system. And so there's so much that goes into spirituality. So my goal and my intention and my passion is really to make these ideas more grounded for just being on earth. And the third pillar is always about healing and expanding. So when I first started my practice, it's all about healing. So there's like regression, we're regressing back to childhood memories. And then now, because I joined, we finished the JHA. So I learned more tools. I have more tools in my toolbox to actually use to help people expand, because I work with a lot of clients. So after their sessions with me, so we did a lot of healing, they'll ask me like, how can I continue to work with you? And back then I didn't really know, because I got sick of going back to my childhood memories myself. And I think we do get to a point where when we have so many sessions, we're like, okay, I already know why I'm the way I am. Like, I don't need to reverse more. So how do I move forward from there? And that's when the expansion piece comes in, because I truly believe that every single one of us is capable of creating whatever it is that we desire in life. And that, to get to that point and to really solidify and really cultivate that kind of mindset, healing, we can't forget healing. It's not all about mindset. It's like healing and also nervous system regulation. And then we expand. So we build that. So healing is the foundation. And then we build our expansion on top of that foundation. So those are the three core pillars of Soul Vitamins that I'm truly, truly passionate about. And of course, I'll always be talking about hypnotherapy and hypnosis.
LifeHakx.com. That's with a K and an X.
And so I really love the fact that you're doing this in your program, and that your program includes so many different aspects. Your mentorship has so many different things. So yeah, that's what we need to talk about. Talk to me about the mentorship training program and what it includes.
So in my program, there is always emotional release. So that's my main program, because I think this program that I've been offering for the past 2 years, it's kind of like the foundation of it all. So there's emotional release. And so we go through like anger, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, all these. We're releasing all those old emotions. And not to say that you'll never experience them anymore, but we want to see them from a different light. And then I also incorporate human design into my programs, because human design is the science of differentiation. And we are each uniquely designed, and human design gives you the blueprint, the kind of like the user manual of how we are supposed to make quote unquote correct decisions in life. And how do we interact with other people? How do we interact with the world, the environment? And a lot of us, so for example, a lot of us are conditioned to interact with others and the environment in a certain way. So for example, as a kid, maybe if you were taught to not express your feelings and ideas. But for example, for me, I have this channel, 2212, which is all about emotional waves. So I was taught that emotions are bad, negative emotions are bad. So what I do is I bury the emotions, but I would explode because it's like a pressure cooker. You're like keeping the pressure in. And so when something small happens, you just release it. And it's kind of like end of the world kind of thing. So human design really helps you understand like, hey, for a lot of people, because not everyone has the same channel as me, but it helps you understand yourself more, and it helps you accept yourself as well. And from looking at your design, we can use hypnosis to decondition. So I used hypnosis to decondition, understanding that anger is not bad. Anger is my friend, actually. It teaches me things. It teaches me that maybe my boundaries are crossed. I'm not okay with certain things. My values are violated, all that stuff. So that's why I incorporate all these different elements into my program to, I don't want to say speed up, but to make the healing process more efficient. Right. So we're not like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but it's a system that we go through in the program.
Well, this is it. Now, we did human design, and I like what you just said about this as well, because you were taught to sort of hide your emotions and to hold your emotions in. I don't know what my parents try to teach me, but I can't. I have verbal diarrhea on a regular basis. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's so funny because before you even really knew that about me, because we were just like on the class together, but we hadn't really talked. So I hadn't ranted and raved and all the stuff that I normally do. And you immediately knew that the certain part of my being is connected to, I think it's my gut was connected to my voice. And it was straight from my instinct, right down, right straight out of my mouth. And I told people exactly what they think. And I have family members that are like, do you have to say, like, do you have to be this frank? Do you have to say exactly what you're thinking all the time? And I felt, no, I don't think I ever felt bad about it, to be fair. But maybe I did for like a little while when I was younger. I felt bad about it. So I'd go around with resting bitch face, because I was just like, I don't want to say anything, because if I say something, I'm going to say the truth. And not that it was always negative. A lot of it is positive. I have people that really love me. They remember me many years later because they're like, you made me feel so good. You said the nicest things about me, but I can't lie either. So if someone says, tell me the truth about how you feel, I'd be like, well, I think you're an asshole. That's just my personality and I can't help it. And I think with human design, it's really a great way to say, okay, that's who I am. That's okay. But also with hypnosis, you can kind of like calm that down a little bit and be like, say it in your mind, Mary. Learn to use the inner voice and not so much the outer voice. So explain to people, what is human design made up of? Because I was quite fascinated. It's like with birthdays, astrology, and some like what exactly is it?
There's so much in human design, and the entire system was downloaded, and it has Chinese I Ching, there's astrology in it, there's Kabbalah, all these things, and integrated into one human design. And it's also like each center is also, it also matches like the chakra system. So there's a lot in human design, and there are many nuances in human design. That's why if we were to talk about human design, it would probably be like another episode.
A full episode.
Exactly. We definitely want to go talk about the nuances, because it's not black or white. But I will say that what I love about human design, it's something that it's something that's meant to be experimented with. So it's not saying, oh, because you have this channel, because you are a generator, you're a manifester, or you're a reflector, you are this. It's not fixed. It's meant for you to experiment it, but you're experimenting with parameters instead, because there's so much to experiment in life.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you are a non-sacral being, meaning that your sacral is not defined, which is me, I'm a manifester. Like, I know to experiment with my energy because I don't have that consistent life force energy to help me carry out all the things I want to do. And maybe sometimes I need support. I need to hire someone to help me with my business. So by understanding that, I was able to unlearn that I have to be a morning person. I have to work every single day. I also unlearned hustle culture because it's really not sustainable for me. And I definitely experienced burnout in the worst way possible. And if you have your sacral defined, like Mary yourself, you do have life force energy to help you. You have sustainable life force energy to help you see some things to completion, not everything. But it's also, what's important for you is to clear all obligations. So those are like different tips, and they're very specific to your type.
Yeah.
And obviously there will be nuances based on your chart. But that's why I love incorporating into my human design, into my programs, because it gives people parameters. Like, I'm experimenting, and also understanding that there's no failure in experimentation. You're just having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
well, I just think it can be used for so much, including people who are trying to figure out how to get their business to work. People who are like, that's why I said to you, because I guess my sacral and my gut and everything is so strong. I can't except I can't help making stupid faces when I'm trying to do like a video that's like, I think you should do this because I feel like Lucille Ball. I feel like an idiot. So knowing that helps me say, okay, maybe there's some other way I can market. I'll market towards the strengths that I do have. And I think it's good too, because you could really help people in the education system. You could help all these kids that are like lost with their career choices and unenthusiastic about school, all these people that are coming into careers that maybe no longer exist or won't exist in the next 5 years. Because we're going more and more online. So I think that your course or your mentorship actually doesn't waste time. It goes into such great detail. It gets people to where they need to be so that they don't waste time. And that's what LifeHakx is about, getting straight to the point, not wasting the time. Yeah. Not wasting the time to maybe this is who I am because my parents told me, or my community, or that's what everyone else is doing. I think your mentorship sort of says, this is who you are. Now do what you will. And I love that, So I'm going to have all of this online up on lifehakx.com. That's with the K and an X. But let's go into the next section of this, which is, you mentioned the breaking of generational cycles.
Yeah.
So give us some tips on how to do that and what exactly that means.
Ooh, generational cycles. It's a big topic. So
another episode, another LifeHakx segment.
A lot of people, because when I thought about trauma back in the day, I thought it was something life-threatening, like something so extreme. But trauma really is. It's not what happened to you. It's what happened in your body. It's something. So when you're a kid, when you're ashamed for something, you don't have this, your body isn't not matured enough, but like it's not.
The cells hold on to it. I mean, they've actually found this in science.
Yeah,
your actual cells hold on to trauma.
Yes. And it's just, it's anything that's over your capacity to deal with.
Right.
And it stays with you until you notice, have that awareness, and start healing through it.
And how many people are ill physically? Right? They have all the fibromyalgia. They have even down to like back pains and the way we hold ourselves. This might be something, like you said, a trauma from the past that you kind of, cramped up, and then you don't even realize you're doing it. Subconsciously, you're doing stuff. You get the butterflies in your stomach. The kids that were nervous, they were being bullied at school. They got the butterflies in their stomach, and it led to cramps. Now they have IBS, right? There's so much to this. So
there's so much to trauma. Like, it's a big topic. But through our own healing, how I see how I view ending generational trauma is like focusing on your own healing. And whether you realize it or not, your healing is going to have an impact on those around you. And I have no doubt about that. I've heard stories about it, and I see it for myself firsthand as well. And ending generational trauma is really about, so if we think about a child, like our inner child's deepest needs are to be seen, heard, loved unconditionally, and to be understood. So how do we give those things to ourselves when we don't feel understood? How do we do that? We can make ourselves feel understood. Yes, it'll be nice if our parents can understand us, understand our feelings or emotions or our values, but sometimes they know what they won't or they don't. And how do we self-soothe? And how do we give ourselves the things that our inner child needs? So reminding yourself that you're safe to speak, you're safe to take bold actions, you're safe to be yourself. And I think and through healing, and especially if you grew up in an environment where you were shamed, because in my culture, shame is like the tool to use to correct behaviors, is the tool. And I think it's common in a lot of different cultures as well, in a lot of different households. So, and when shame is used, when you were a child to correct behaviors, a child doesn't think, oh, I did something bad. Shame says, I'm bad.
Yeah.
And to heal through that, to understand that there's nothing that can be yourself. You are worthy already as you are. The minute you were born, you already are. And there's nothing someone can say to you to negate that. And really understanding that, and through healing, our interaction and how we educate the next generation.
Right.
And I see that with my friends already, and which I love. Like, they don't use shame. They understand that some children have really big emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think through that generational, like we're educating the next generation differently in a more empowering way, I do see the entire world change in the best way. So that's what I mean by ending generational trauma. It's through, like, I don't have kids, but I'm ending it. It ends with me.
Right.
Like going through shame.
Right. Exactly. It's going back, getting attention to that unconscious, getting attention to those cells that are holding on to the trauma, releasing them, whether or not we can actually deal with the generations before, but releasing that generational trauma that might be from the generations before out of ourselves so that they do not get passed on to the next generation. Such an important tool. So I'm really glad that you are also doing part of that as your mentorship, and we will definitely have to spend an entire episode talking about that as well. So in regards to getting started on shattering the glass ceiling, what exactly do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is I truly believe that through healing, and also a lot of the beliefs that we hold based on like society or our parents, if it doesn't feel expansive, we can let it go. And that's how we shatter the glass ceiling. So whatever you were taught as a kid, maybe that things are limited. Everything is limited. You have to work till you have to work 24/7 in order to realize your dreams. And to me, shattering the glass ceiling is kind of like sitting with these beliefs and kind of sitting with yourself and being in your body. And I think being in our bodies can be something challenging for trauma survivors to do, but this takes practice. Like, being in our body, does it feel expansive to me or not? Do I feel expansive when someone says, oh, everything is limited in life? That doesn't feel expansive to me. So I'm here to shatter that glass ceiling, because that was the glass ceiling that I was told to hold. And I'm shattering that.
Yeah.
And it's really through like deep healing, and also with curiosity, like questioning things, not in a way to shame others in any way, but it's to question and be curious and understand what your truth is. And it's also an generational cycle. Like there are cycles that your parents, your great parents are still in. But what we are here to do is to shatter the glass ceiling by ending it. Like it ends with me. It's not the easy thing to do. I know we're talking about it as if like, yeah, we just end it, but it doesn't work. And remember not to be, the process doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. And that's something that I really want to emphasize, because I work with moms who are just really worried about passing down trauma to their kids, but it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect in any way. It's just having that awareness, making changes, and taking different actions.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. I mean, there you go. That's another group of people that could really get your help. And I'm a twin. I'm a survivor of a twin, and I understand that whole, being told, and even not even being told, but the silent words of, you're the survivor, survivor's guilt. So you better work extra hard. You better be better because you're living for two people. But at the same time, don't you shine too brightly because you survived. Right.
Wow.
So, I'm sure there's an entire group of people that you could help. I'm sure there's people who have bereavement issues with people that they never got to say something to, whether it be the person who's hurt them or the person that they've hurt. There is so much that can be done through your kind of mentorship, that will help people release some of that embedded trauma, get their subconscious to come out of fight or flight, and get that brain, that critical thinking part of their brain to work once again. Please do this because the whole world needs this, right? There's some sort of mass hypnosis going on in the world right now where we're constantly being pushed with our, media. Our emotions are being pushed, and it's one thing after the next, after the next. And it's just traumatizing people, and they're going deeper and deeper into their amygdala. They're going deeper and deeper into their emotions. And they're not living life. We have got to start living life. So with that, for anyone who is interested in Vivian Wu's special classes, some of her marketing skills, if she's still interested in doing that as well, I think with the mentorship, you get a little bit of everything, especially that focus to find out who you really are, what you should really be doing, and following your dreams and how to do that. Right? So you're an inspiration, Vivian. If anyone is interested, on LifeHakx.com, we will be posting all of Vivian's information. You can also go to soulvitaminshypnotherapy.com. She's on Twitter, soulvitamins.co. And, they're on Facebook, Soul Vitamins Hypnotherapy. Once again, easy peasy to find. She makes amazing videos. She's lovely to watch and to listen to, and an inspiration for all of those out there who want to make a change. Thank you, Vivian. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's been fun to chat about all these things.
Talk to you soon.
LifeHakx. LifeHakx.com. That's with a K and an X.